السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة المتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So inshallah, in today's lesson, part 2 of the Fiqh of fasting, we will be covering two main topics. One is the different types of fast, and the second segment will be in regards to the intention in regards to fasting and when does intention need to be done and so forth. Issues related to that. So, starting with the types of fast. في صفة الصوم وتقسيمه. So in regards to the different types of fasting, we'll talk about that first. أقسام الصوم, the different types of fast. ينقسم الصوم إلى ستة أقسام. The author himself, he split fasting into 6 different types. Now, different scholars have done this differently. Many scholars normally do it, split the fast into 8 different types. However, I'm just going to stick to what the author himself has mentioned, just for ease's sake, rather than get into anything technical. So he says the 6 different types of fasting are: number 1, fard; number 2, wajib; number 3, sunnah, وهي مسنون; number 4, mandub, meaning it is it's recommended, what we call mustahab. It is recommended, but not as much as sunnah. Okay. Number 5, nafil, it's an optional thing. There's no sin if you don't do it, or there's no there's nothing wrong with it. Makruh, okay, and number 6 is makruh. So normally what tends to happen is that with fard or wajib, they normally split into 2 categories, hence why you normally get 8 different categories. Makruh is also split into 2 categories, but whatever the case may be, we'll just go with it as to how the Imam, the author, has written it here. So he gives a bit more clarity in regards to each one. He says, Amma al-fard, in regards to that which is an obligation, that which is fard, which is compulsory, he says that is the fasting of Ramadan. Okay, that is the fasting of Ramadan, whether it's done, just the fasting of Ramadan. Then he brings off wajib. Okay, that wajib is also compulsory, but it's not on the same level as fard. Okay, there are technical differentiations which we're not going to get into, but they're both compulsory. However, fard is so wajib is a little less than fard. So he says here, a wajib is قضاء ما أفسده من نفل, and that too. So you were once initially doing a nafil fast, but then you broke that nafil fast, so now you have to re-keep that nafil fast. So say for example on Monday I was doing a nafil fast, or an optional fast, and I decided to break it halfway through the day or at some point of the day, and now I will have to make up that fast. Okay, I'll have to make up that fast as a penalty. So on Tuesday I ended up making that fast. That's wajib. It doesn't have to be done straight away, but next one, وَأَمَّا الْمَسْنُونَ. So in regards to the sunnah fast, so sunnah fast is that which has been given emphasis to by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says here, فَهُوَ صَوْمُ يَوْمِ عَاشُورَى مَعَ التَّاسِعِ, that is the fasting of the 10th of Muharram, the Ashura, with the 9th. So there's a very strong recommendation in regards to this. On the 9th and 10th of Muharram we fast. Another one would be like, for example, the fasting of the day of Arafah. Okay, the day of Arafah has also been given a lot of emphasis to. وَأَمَّا الْمَنْدُوبِ, and in regards to the mustahab, the recommended fast, so they're still a form of a sunnah, but they haven't been emphasized as much. Okay, so mandub is lower. So you have fard, wajib, then you have the sunnah fasts, then you have the mandub, which are a form of sunnah, but it's a bit lower. What the wajib is to the fard, you could say, is somewhat what the mandub, the mustahab, is to the sunnah. Again, they have been differentiated for good reason, but we're not going to go into that. And he gives an example of what is a mandub, a mustahab fast. It's صوم ثلاث من كل شهر, that fasting from 3 days from every month. So from every lunar month, because remember the Islamic cycle, the monthly cycle is on a lunar basis, and fasting what is called as Ayyamul Bid, the white days. Okay, and that is the 13th, 14th, and 15th of every month. So remember, it's not the Gregorian calendar, it's the lunar calendar. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar calendar, it's a mandub, it's a mustahab, it's recommended to fast. Another example was Sawm Yawm al-Ithnain wal-Khamis, the fasting on Monday and Thursday. Again, it's something that the Prophet ﷺ did do, and it is a mustahab, it is a form of a sunnah, just one that is considered and categorized as mustahab. And the fasting of the sixth fast of Shawwal. So after the month of Ramadan, you have the month of Shawwal, and one of the things to do in the month of Shawwal is fasting 6 days of Shawwal, and it's as if you fasted for the full year. Or there are virtues attached to it anyway. He says that it doesn't matter best is to do them continuously, but you don't have to do all 6 continuously. You can break them, but you have to do it within the month. He gives a few more examples in regards to different forms of fasting. He says, like the fasting of Dawood, the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, what he would do, kana yasumu yawma wa yuftiru yawma, that he would fast one day and then not fast the next day, and he would keep interchanging like that. So he'd fast one day, then one day not fast, and that is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's actually a hadith in that regards as well. Then the 5th type, the nafl, which is an option. So if you do it, it's fine. If you don't do it, don't worry, there's no reprehensibility in that. And that is entirely up to your choice as to when and why you do that. وَأَمَّا الْمَكْرُوهِ, so in regards to that which is prohibited or disliked, there are 2. One makruh tanzih, which is there's a small level of dislikeness in it, prohibition. Makruh tahriman, and there is the second type of that which is disliked is that which is been strongly prohibited. So one example of that which has a light prohibition is like the fasting on just the 10th of Muharram, and not fasting on the 9th as well with it. So the Prophet ﷺ actually mentioned that fast on the 9th and the 10th, or the 10th and the 11th, not just the 10th, because on the 10th itself the Jews used to fast, so we wanted to differentiate ourselves from the Jews. Now there is a discussion between scholars that today that's not the case. The Jews don't fast on the 10th, or at least not many. So would their reprehensibility still be there? But that's another discussion in of itself. An example of a stronger prohibition that's been given by the Prophet ﷺ will be fasting on the Eid days. He's actually prohibited, the Prophet ﷺ prohibited Muslims from fasting on any of the 2 Eid days and the days of Tashriq. So the days of Tashriq are the days after the Eid al-Adha, okay, the 11th, 12th and 13th of Dhul Hijjah. So this was just in regards to the different types of fasting. Of course, when it comes to Ramadan, then it's a compulsory fast. So that's fard, then we have to fast on those days. Of course, if we meet the given conditions that we spoke about in part 1. That's better. Now we come on to the intention of fasting. Now, and the issues related to it. So, with fasting, or with intentions rather, with any act of worship, we should always have an intention. We should always have some kind of intent behind it. And of course, ultimately speaking, we do it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But say, for example, we want to make sure the intention is done here, because say, for example, someone gets up early in the morning, because he got up a little late, later than usual, he's not had a chance to have breakfast, and he goes to the office straight away, goes to work, or she goes to work. They've not had a chance because of their busy schedule to even have lunch. Then by the time, because of their busy schedule, they don't get to go home until dinner, until past sunset. So they've not eaten throughout the whole day. Well, because they had no intention of fasting, they're not going to be rewarded for their fast, or for the fact that they've not eaten, or probably even not even drank anything. So that's why intention is important, and that's why we're going to be speaking about intention, inshallah. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, actions are rewarded according to the intentions. So, and the commentators of the hadith actually mentioned that one of the reasons why this hadith was mentioned is because this hadith was mentioned at a time after the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina, the famous what we call the Hijrah. Okay, and it is said that one of the companions, he migrated with the Muslims. So he migrated also making the momentous sacrifice from Mecca to Medina, leaving family or finances and business all at home, leaving all everything and coming to Medina with nothing. Okay, or possessing nothing, owning nothing, and severing all ties with their past life. But this one person, he did so not for the same reason that many other companions did, but he did so in order to marry a woman in Medina. So Prophet ﷺ caught wind of this, and he mentioned this hadith that all actions are according to the intention. The hadith continues a lot more lengthier, and this is what some of the commentators of hadith mention about that hadith as to why it was mentioned, and Allah knows best. So point being is that intentions are important. So I'm not going to be reading out much of this chapter just because I don't want to lead to any confusion. I'm going to paraphrase in my own words, inshallah, and hopefully a bit more easier. So basically the chapter is in regards to those fasts where an intention is needed, a specific intention is needed, and those fasts where a specific intention is not needed to be made, and as to when to make it. That's what the chapter is about. That do you have to make it at night time before the fast even begins, or is there actually an exception to the rule? So the first fasts that we're going to be talking about are those fasts where there is not a condition to make an intention at night, or a specific intention rather. Sorry, let me rephrase that. So there's not a need to make a specific intention for this fast. We don't have to say I'm fasting for X, Y, Z reason. And neither do we have to make the intention at night so by night we mean before the actual fasting time starts. Okay, so there are three fasts like that. One is Ada'u Ramadan, the present Ramadan. So you can't so this is not the case with a Ramadan fast that you have to make up because you missed it. A Ramadan that is present. So imagine tomorrow is Ramadan. Well, then I don't have to make the intention tonight. Okay, that's what it's referring to. Second fast, وَالنَّذْرُ الْمُعَيِّنُ زَمَانُهُ, that a vowed fast where a time for it has been specified. Now, a vowing fast, a fast of vow, is when you make a promise, you make a vow that I will fast for because of X, Y, Z reason, and I'll do it, in this case, on a specified time. Normally this happens, say for example, a person's fallen ill. Allah, I promise if I get better and if you give me health, make me get better, I will fast for 5 days. I'll fast for 5 days and I'll do it on these days. That's what it refers to. You've specified the days of which you're going to fast, so you don't need to make the intention on the night before fasting. If you did not specify the time, then there's a different case. Okay. The third is a nafil fast, an optional fast, where then you do not need to make an intention, a specific intention anyway, by nightfall or before the fasting time begins. So the question is, well, if that's the case, when do you have to make the intention by? Okay, what's the rule in regards to these three types of fast? The Ramadan fast, the current Ramadan fast, the vowed fast where you specified the time, okay, where you specified the time and date, the date, sorry. And thirdly, an optional fast. Well, if you don't have to make the intention, a specified intention by nightfall before the fasting time begins, well then when do you have to do it by? What is the maximum time that you can let it go? So, this comes into another fiqh issue of you can make an intention, and it is correct to do so. And this is only in the Hanafi fiqh as far as I'm aware, but Allah knows best. Other fiqhs, other schools of thought may be somewhat different as to whether they allow this or not. But in the Hanafi fiqh it is allowed that a person can make the intention up to midday. Okay, you can delay making an intention up to midday. Now, what is meant by midday? So midday is not 12 o'clock, okay, how we understand midday, noon, okay. Midday in Islamic context would mean from the beginning of Fajr time till sunset, that's the day, Okay, we said that in part 1 of the series. That from Fajr time to sunset is the whole day. Half that time, that's the middle of the day. So before that midday point, you have to then make your intention. Okay, by that point you will then have to specify your intention and make your intention. So if it's the thing is, if you're fasting for Ramadan, well, you know you're fasting for Ramadan anyway. If it's a vowed fast for which you specified certain dates, well then that's already going to be done. You're going to have to do that. It only really applies to the optional fast. So it's possible that you woke up for Fajr, didn't eat or drink at that time, and you continued the day without eating or drinking, and before midday, as we spoke about it before midday, you decide, you know what, actually I might as well just fast this day. Well then you could do that according to the Hanafi fiqh. Now, we come on to those fasts where you cannot do that, where you have to. It is a condition to make a fast and specify a fast, and also make that intention before the beginning time of the fast itself, meaning before the Fajr time begins. Okay, before you can no longer eat, which is the Fajr time. So those fasts are the following: the qada of Ramadan, the qada fast of Ramadan. So qada is making up the missed fast. So maybe you missed a fast of Ramadan, then you'll have to make the intention of it the night before. Mean before. So when I say the night before, I'm referring to before Fajr time. Okay, so you'll have to make it a specific intention before. And so by specific, I mean you're saying that the last Ramadan, the first fast I missed on the last Ramadan, or the last fast I missed on the last Ramadan, however you want to word it, you're specifying the fast. You don't have to mention the 27th and the 26th of Ramadan. You can say the last fast of the last Ramadan that I missed, I intend to keep that fast tomorrow, or the first fast that I missed of the first Ramadan, whatever, and it's easier. But you have to specify the fast. Or وَقَضَاءُ مَا أَفْسَدَهُ مِن نَفْلٍ, or a qada fast. So again, you're making up a missed fast of one, not of a Ramadan fast, but one that is a nafl fast. Okay? وَصَوْمُ الْكَفَّارَاتِ بِأَنْوَاعِهَا. So the kafarat. So the kafara is something says a bit of a penalty fast, an expiation fast, where you may have broken, say for example, a Ramadan fast, and there are certain repercussions. So sometimes there's a repercussion of having to fast 60 fasts consecutively. That's what kafara is. So any of those types of kafara, well, you will have to specify the intention. And number 4, وَالنَّذْرُ مُطْلَقٌ. So again, a vowed fast. So you've made a vow to fast, but you've kept it general in terms of you didn't specify that on this day, Monday the 13th of this month, I'm going to be fasting. If you, Allah, you make me better from my illness, or if I pass my driving test, or if I pass my exams, or whatever else it may be, whatever kind of a vow you've made, and that vows, that thing, that condition's been met. So you have to, the condition that you've put. So he gives examples that you say, Allah, if you cure me from my illness, then I will fast one day. You've kept it. You didn't say which day. You didn't specify which day that will be. You just said one day. So then for that type of fast, when you do make up, you'll have to make that specific intention the night before, before Fajr time. So that covers the intention of fasting. Now, one little side point I wanted to mention about the intention is that on many calendars or books in regards to fasting, so these are dua books, or sometimes people share it online, they will say that this is the dua that you have to read before fasting. You get different ones, بِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ, and many others. They're not actually hadith or even du'as related by the Prophet ﷺ. They're just intentions written in Arabic. So there's no hadith mentioning about a specific intention that you have to read, okay, or a du'a that you have to read in terms of the intention. So I just thought I'd mention and clarify that point. The specifying an intention would just be you knowing why you're fasting or what fast you're keeping. Okay, that's basically it. So you have to have intention for both of them. for the both types of fast that we've mentioned, you have to have a specific intention. Okay, you need to have an intention, but the question is, by when do you need to make that intention? Okay, that's the issue. Sorry, let me paraphrase that again. Let me paraphrase my. Sorry, let me phrase my. Say that again. In regards to the first set of fasts that we mentioned, so the present Ramadan, the fast that you vowed and you've specified a time, and the nafil fast, you do not need to make a specific intention. Sorry, so that was a slip of the tongue. You do not need to make a specific intention, and nor do you need to make it by nightfall. By nightfall, again, before Fajr. You can make up to midday. And then the other types of fasts that we mentioned, so for example, the qada of Ramadan, the qada of any other fast that you, of a nafil fast, any type of kafara fast, or a vowed fast which has been left general, is a specific time, you've not mentioned. And these fasts, you do need to have a specific intention, and you do need to make it by nightfall, meaning i.e. before the Fajr time kicks in. So that's the lessons for today, inshallah. And also we spoke about the different types of fasts. So inshallah we'll continue in next lesson. Subhanallah bihamdik, subhanaka wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.